Hello and welcome to day 5 of Figuary. The idea is that you watch the daily guidance video here at Love Life Drawing and then go to the Croquis Cafe channel and do their daily practice session. So far we've talked about looking for the top 0.1% of information in the pose, especially the curves and angles that define the torso, and filtering out the rest. Today we're going to look at something that is really often that people really often do that reduces how dynamic and interesting the pose can look. So when you're looking at a torso from an angle, it's really useful to explain to the viewer's eyes what the angle is. And when there's a twist in the torso, it's good to explain to the viewer's eyes how the twist is changing the angle of the torso relative to your eyes. So the really useful thing to look for is the distance from that torso center line, the middle of the torso, to the sides. So one side versus the other side. And there's usually, if the torso is a bit rotated or twisting, there's going to be some difference in how much of each side of the torso you can see. There's going to be a difference in the distance from the center line to the side versus the center line to the other side. Let's look at an example from Michael. He only recently started life drawing and he's improving really rapidly. And this is a great drawing that he did, but notice that the distance from the center line to each side in his drawing are more similar to each other than in the photo. So that was our main feedback for him, was to take note of the difference in the distance to each side and do that justice in the drawing. So here the red lines make it seem like the distance to each side is more similar than it is. A bit different, but not as different as it really is. And it's as if the person wants to draw the torso like it's facing your eyes more. When there's a twist in the torso, the difference varies along the line. So you want to get that variation of, okay, I can see a lot more of that side of the far side of the torso here and less down here. That tells you about the twist in the torso. You want to get those differences to show how the torso is twisting. Just before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We're constantly coming up with really useful and clear guidance about life drawing, and the Croquis Cafe channel puts out fantastic resources every week too. Also, let us know how Figuary is going for you in the comments and use the hashtag Figuary on Instagram. So this week is all about emphasizing what's important in the pose and knowing that there's a general tendency to straighten things out too much. Like if the pose is like this, you're going to draw it a little bit less bent over, a little bit less twisted. Everything is going to try to default back to just straight, looking at something straight pose. You know, if it's like this, you might end up drawing a little bit like that. Things are going to get just a little bit too straightened out. And what we don't want to do is shy away from that. Shy away from what's interesting about the pose. So if you're drawing a torso and it's at an angle, look at how much of the far side you can see, the distance from the middle to the edge compared to the distance from the middle to this edge. And if it's twisting, that's going to change. The amount that you can see is going to change on each side. Capture that in the pose. Don't reduce those differences, but emphasize them, because rotation and things like twisting, that's interesting. That's fun stuff to draw. So emphasize it, don't reduce it. And I hope you enjoy your practice session, and I'll see you tomorrow.